Okay, today we're going to be learning Shabbat Daf Kuf Yud Zayin, a very interesting daf. We're going to get into issues about Seudah Shlishit, eating 3 meals on Shabbat. Today's daf is sponsored by Julie Danan in honor of Karen and Tim Carter. Mazel tov on your 35th wedding anniversary, and with great appreciation to Karen for being such a wonderful and supportive Talmud Chavruta. And from Ruth Kahan in honor of Jessica Shklar, wishing you a very happy birthday. I'm excited that we're sharing this journey and wishing you a great year of learning ahead. Good example of friends learning Torah together and what it adds to friendships. Okay, with that, we will get started. We were in the middle of a sugya yesterday where we stopped, so we're going to pick up from there. I'll just review a little bit. The Mishnah had said you can save a tik of a Sefer Torah with the Sefer. So if you have a Sefer Torah in your burning house and you want to take out the Sefer Torah, you can take it in its bag. Okay, and then we said, even if the bag has money in it, it can also be taken. The money can be taken with it. Then we said that there was a machloket about a different topic. If Erev Pesach falls out on Shabbat and you need to slaughter the Korban Pesach and you need to take off the hide, flay the hide of the animal in order to get out the innards which need to be burned on the altar that day. So we allow you, according to Rabbi Yishmael ben Elshah, Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, to take off just until the chest. And then pull out once you can pull out the imurim, that's what we allow and no more. The rabbis say we allow the whole thing. So now the rabbis come and question Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, from our Mishnah. And he says, so now the question is, what's the question? Okay, there's a question about what the question the rabbis asked Rabbi Yishmael was. So the first answer we had, and I want to go back to this because what we're going to have, the structure is, we're going to have 4 possibilities for what the question is. Each of those possibilities is going to be rejected. Then we're going to come back and go back to the first one and say, well, in fact, since nothing else worked out, we're going to go back and explain the first one the way we said it. So now we're going to see that, oh, and by the way, I see someone asked, do people usually put money in Torah scrolls or tefillin? So again, first of all, I think that we mentioned this yesterday, I think we did anyway, that it's not the tik, it's not like your tefillin bag or a Sefer Torah cover. We're not talking about that there's money in that. What we're talking about is it was in some other bag, and in that other bag there was money. I don't think it was typical to put the money in the actual bag, and in fact, it's forbidden to do that. Not to even mention, I don't think people normally did it. It was forbidden. Some people explain the Mishnah that even if it has money, and even though you're not allowed to put money in, if you did, then we're still going to let you save it and not make you dump out the money. Some people think that actually, no, we're talking about that it was a bag. It wasn't really the actual bag. It was a bag in a bag or something like that. And then it would actually be allowed. And maybe people did do it because, they kept safe things. Maybe they kept their Torah and they kept their money and stored it in the same place. So now the Gemara says, what was the question? So we start with 4 lines from the bottom of Kuftet Zayin. I would bet. Im mitzilim tik hasefer im hasefer. So the first option was, if we're going to save, once we allow you to save the Sefer Torah, we allow you to save anything with it, even the money, if that's the case, right, which means we're allowing you to carry. And by the way, it doesn't even just mean the money. It means even the ticket itself, theoretically, you shouldn't be able to take the bag. So if we're allowing you to take the bag with it, we're basically saying you can go all the way, even though you don't really need the bag or you don't need the money. You're not allowed to carry the money out. Likewise, once we allow you to take off flay the hide, let's just allow you to do the whole thing. So the Gemara then said, if you remember, midame hatam tiltul hachamalacha. One is allowing you to carry things that are muktzah, or that you shouldn't be allowed to carry. But that's a derabana. All muktzah is derabana. Whereas the flaying the hide is deoraita. That's can't compare. So then Rav Ashi had said that they're arguing about 2 things. If you remember, he said they're arguing also about tiltul, about whether you can carry, whether the hide of the animal, because it's muktzah, does that mean you can no longer move, right? Is it muktzah that you can't, basically because the hide is muktzah, because you don't need it at all, therefore you can't carry the meat at all. Okay, so therefore, since they're arguing also about tiltul, and the rabbis disagree with that, because they say the meat is the main thing, and the meat you can move, so therefore, that's what their question is. And last line on yesterday's daf, imitzilim tika sefer ima sefer lo nitaltel or agav basar. Shouldn't we allow Just like, now here it's a little bit more comparable because we're comparing tiltul to tiltul. Just like you can carry the tik with the sefer, you should also be allowed to carry the or with the meat. Okay, the meat can be carried with the or, even though the or is muktzah, we should still allow it to be carried. So the Gemara rejects this and says midami, but again, they're not similar. Hatam nasa basis l'davar hamutal. When you're talking about the hide, to compare it, with the flesh of the animal is a muktzah. That's a davar hamutal. So now we're going to say that's a basis. The or is a basis, a base for davar hamutal, for something that's allowed. Whereas hacha nasa basis l'davar ha'asur. But in our case, we have it's a basis to something that's forbidden. Why? Well, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. In our case, I said the comparison wrong. Hatam, in the case there, it's nasa basis l'davar hamutal. It's the tika sefer is a basis l'davar to the sefer Torah, right? The bag is servicing something that's allowed. Whereas hacha nasa basis l'davar ha'asur, with the hide of the animal, it's serving as a base for the meat. Now the meat, you said, we thought a second ago it was permitted, but really the meat is forbidden. Why is the meat forbidden? The meat is forbidden because, think about it, it's Shabbat. You just shechted your Korban Pesach. When do you eat the Korban Pesach? At night, Pesach night. So that meat, what does muktzah mean? Muktzah means it's set aside, meaning you're not planning to use it on Shabbat. It's set aside, you're not planning to use it on Shabbat. The meat itself is also muktzah. So you basically are comparing the meat is a basis l'davar ha'asur, whereas the tik is basis l'davar hamutal, because it's holding a sefer Torah. I see that Adina asked, isn't tiltul d'oraita? So no, in fact, tiltul is not d'oraita. There's two different things, and this, I think people often confuse these. There's carrying in a public domain for amot, or transferring from one domain to another. That is asur mid'oraita. That's one of the malachot, right? We talked about hotza'ah, and then even hachnasa, and carrying 4 amot and rishut rabim. But the fact that you can't carry muktzah items, something that's set aside for whatever reason, either it's forbidden or it's just set aside, it's not planned to be used. So that is d'Rabbanan. Okay, all of laws of muktzah are d'Rabbanan. So now they're basically saying, again, you can't compare the cases. The fact that we allow it in our Mishnah is because the tik is serving as a basis for something that's allowed, whereas the or is serving as a basis for something that's asul. Okay, basically, it's funny because they said nitaltel or agav basar. At first, they thought the basar was mutar. Now they said no. The basar itself is forbidden. Therefore, it's not a question. So next attempt at a question. So we're on our third. Elahachi ka'amrele. Im mitzilim tik shel sefer ima sefer af al pi sheyesh b'tocho ma'ot. They say, wait a minute. You just said a minute ago it was a basis l'davar hamutar because the tik is serving the Torah or the tefillin or whatever it might be, the sefer kodesh. But remember, it said in the Mishnah, even if there's money in it, that means that the tik is actually a basis l'davar ha'asur because it's serving muktzah, forbidden items like money. So if you're going to say mitzilim tika sefer ima sefer va'af al pi sheyesh b'tocho ma'ot lo nitaltel or agav basar, because both of them or basis l'davar ha'asur. Well, not exactly, because midami hatam nasa basis l'davar ha'asur u'ledavar hamutal. What does this mean? That this is not exactly comparable because this is a classic example. I'll give you an example when it comes to dinei muktzah. If you have something that's serving as a basis for something that's both forbidden and permitted, that's not the same as something that's serving as a base for something that's forbidden only. Okay? In our case, it's true there's money inside, but there's also a sefer Torah inside. I've talked about this before. When you have a tray that has your candles on it for Shabbat, so your candles are muktzah for Shabbat, they're set aside for a mitzvah, besides the fact that when they're lit, of course, they're a problem, but even when they're not lit, they're set aside for a mitzvah, they're considered muktzah. But if you want to move that tray, because your tray isn't muktzah, but your tray is serving as a base for something that's muktzah. If that's the case, how do we allow you to do it? If you put challah rolls on it, which is something that's significant and right for use for Shabbat, and it's not muktzah, then it becomes a basis l'davar hamutar v'ha'asur, and then you're allowed to carry it. So there you see, these two things are not comparable again. So up to option number 4. Elahachi kamrele. This is what the rabbi said to Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka. Im mivi'im tik sheyesh b'tocho ma'ot me'alma la'atzil bo sefer Torah lo nitaltel or agav basal. If we're going to bring a tik that has ma'ot, okay, now they're going to say like this. Now, before, our Mishnah was talking about there's a sefer Torah in the house, it's in a bag, there's money in the bag, we allow you to just take everything out and we don't make you dump the money. But now they're jumping to an assumption, and we're going to question that assumption in a minute, that if you, let's say, don't have the sefer Torah in a tik and you want to carry it out in a tik, so you run to the nearby house where there's no fire going on, or somehow you find the tik quickly, you grab it and you bring it, and let's say there's money in that bag, so we don't make you dump out that money. Just like in the Mishnah, you don't have to dump it. Likewise, there we wouldn't make you dump out the money. And then, what's our case then? That's a basis l'davar ha'asur only. Right? So we're going to turn it into a basis l'davar mutar, but that doesn't interest us. Right now we're saying when you grab that bag from wherever you grabbed it from, you carry it to the house, and you put your sefer Torah in it, when you carried it to the house, you were carrying a basis l'davar ha'asur, and we allow that. So why don't we allow you to carry the hide with the meat? Because it's also, right? These are both basis l'davar ha'asur. If we allow it there, we should also allow it here. So the Gemara is going to reject this because they're going to say, where did you get that from anyway? Why do you think that that's okay? V'hi gufa minalam. Where did you get that from? Why do you assume it's okay and you don't have to dump the money? Ilema, if you want to say that they're going to learn it from our Mishnah, since in a case where it's already in there, the money, when the Sefer Torah and the money is in a tik, we don't make you dump it out. Itu yanami maitina, and you could even bring a tik that had money, and you don't have to spend your time dumping it out on the way because, again, what's the most important value? Saving that Sefer Torah. We don't want you to waste any time. But no, midami, those two are not the same. Why? Think about the situation. Adahachi v'hachi naflad leka. If you're in the house and you grab the Sefer Torah and it's in a tik, it's in a bag, and there's money in the bag, and we make you start taking out the money, what are you going to do? First of all, you can't just dump the bag upside down and the money falls out. That's the easiest way to get it out. Because, first of all, there's a Sefer Torah in there. You can't just dump it. So what do you have to do? You have to start rummaging through the bag to find the money and take out the money. In the meanwhile, the books are going to burn. So that's ridiculous. But in the case of hacha, in our case, where you're going to bring the tik from somewhere else and you're going to carry it to the house to go put the Sefer Torah in it, all you have to do is, while you're running, turn the bag upside down, the money will fall out, and keep running. You're not going to waste any time, basically, and it's going to be much simpler because you could just dump it. So therefore, you can't learn it from there, and therefore that's not a question because it's not even true, the assumption of that question. So I just want to just review very briefly those four options and what happened here. We started with comparing flaying the hide, right? And once we allow part, we should allow the whole thing. We should really start with our case. In our Mishnah, since we allow you to carry whatever, right, we can allow you to carry the bag with it and the money with it. Therefore, we should also allow you to just flay the whole hide once you're already flaying. But from there, we moved on. We didn't like that answer because we said, what do you mean? You're comparing tiltul, which is Durabanan, right? Muktzah issues, which are Durabanan, to Doraita of flaying the hide. That's not a fair comparison. And therefore, all the other attempts at questions put it into the category that we were talking about, muktzah, when it came to the hide. And that's why we got into all this strange stuff about the or carrying the body, the flesh with it, because of the or, is the or muktzah, does it affect it? We got into muktzah issues, okay? But now we're going to go back to which really didn't seem like that was the main thing they were discussing anyway, because it certainly wasn't mentioned explicitly in their machloket. It seemed very strange. So in the end, anyway, they reject all these questions, this line. Therefore, Ela Amar Marbar Avashi, Lo Olam Kedam Rina Mikar. We go back to the first one. Udekakashalach, and the fact that you asked the question, Hacha Tiltul V'Hacha Malacha, that we're comparing Doraita to Rabbanan, how could you say that? Kigon de lo kabai leila or. What does it mean? It's talking about a situation where you didn't need the hide for anything, right? You're flaying the hide, and you're not. Again, why are you flaying the hide? You're flaying the hide to get to take out the inner parts of the animal that need to be burnt on the altar. You're not doing it because you need the hide. In that case, it drops it to a durabanan, because this is a classic case now. Classic case of what? Well, the Gemara is going to say this is davar she'eno mitkaven. What is davar she'eno mitkaven? It's a little bit different than davar she'eno mitkaven. There's a little bit of a problem with this sugya. I'll just kind of raise it as a question. Really, it sounds like if we read this and had not read the continuation of the Gemara, we would think that it's malacha she'eina tzricha legufa. Because what's a malacha she'eina tzricha legufa? You don't need it for the reason it was done in the Mishkan. Why did they flay the hide in the Mishkan? Because they wanted to make parchment, right? And then they do the writing and all that on the hide. Or they needed it for the coverings of the Mishkan. That's why they needed the hide itself. But in this case, you don't need the hide. You're doing it because you want to get to what's inside. That's different. You're trying to get rid of the hide. That's malacha she'eina tzricha legufa. And then it would make perfect sense because then Rabbi Shimon says that's d'Rabbanan and that's perfect, right? It's only asur mid'Rabbanan, not d'oraita, and that would make sense. This is d'Rabbanan. But instead, the Gemara seems to view this as a malacha, as a davar she'eino mitkaven. Now, why is it different from a classic davar she'eino mitkaven? Davar she'eino mitkaven, I always go back to washing your hands over the grass. You're intending to wash your hands, but while you're doing that, you're also washing the grass, right? Which you're watering the grass, which means that you're watering, let's say there's seeds underneath, you're causing things to grow. That's a classic davar she'eino mitkaven. Now, why is that different than this? This is, you're actually intending to flay the hide. You are intending to do the act. In that case, you weren't intending to water the grass. You're intending to wash your hands. You're intending for one act. Something else happens as a result. Here, you're intending to flay the hide, and you are flaying the hide, right? You're intending the exact same act. But for whatever reason, the Gemara thinks this is a davar she'eino mitkaven, and maybe the reason is because maybe you could say you're really not even intending to flay the hide. You're just peeling it away so that you can get to what's inside. Maybe you're just kind of trying to get rid of it, but you're not actually trying to flay it. Okay. Anyway, it's a bit of a question that the Mefarshim ask. But the Gemara says like this. So even if you say that it's davar she'eino mitkaven, ha'abai v'Rav Adamri Taravayu modeh Rabbi Shimon b'psik reisha v'lo yamut. This is why it's clear the Gemara thinks it's a davar she'eino mitkaven, because they start asking about our classic psik reisha. But it's true, maybe you're not mitkaven for the hide, but it's definitely going to happen. You're going to tear the hide, and you're going to end up with the hide. So therefore, it's a psik reisha. So the Gemara answers, Deshakale bebarze. You take it in strips. Let's say you flay it in strips, little strips, in which case that's not called flaying the hide really, because you've cut piece by piece. It's not going to be usable to you no matter what. Even though it's definitely going to happen, you're not going to end up at the end with a piece of hide that you can use with a piece of the animal skin that you can use for anything. You can't use it for anything in that case, in which case it's not going to be a malacha and it'll only be d'Rabbanan. There's another problem with this whole thing, which is davar she'eino mitkaven, according to Rabbi Shimon, the Gemara is trying to say it's asur d'Rabbanan just like tiltul. But davar she'eino mitkaven, according to Rabbi Shimon, is mutal. It's allowed entirely. So also there's a bit of a problem with the way the sugya works here. I'll just leave those as open questions, and we're going to go on. Now we have to define what is mefulash and eino mefulash. I defined it in one way, but we're going to see the Gemara doesn't define it that way, right? I suggested that mefulash means open on to Reshut HaRabim, and eino mefulash means it's only open on one side. Right? You can have a mavoi that has 2 walls or 3 walls. Basically, that means, again, they lived in, we're going to see this all when we get to Eruvin, they lived in houses, a bunch of houses open to a courtyard, and then a bunch of courtyards opened into a mavoi. So a mavoi is already a place with a lot of people going around because each mavoi has openings to different courtyards, and all those people congregate in the mavoi. But some mavois open on the other side, right? Obviously, one side is open to all the courtyards, and some open to the public thoroughfare, and some don't. So if it has 2 mechitzot, that basically means it's another way of saying it has 2 openings, one opening to the courtyards and one opening to the public thoroughfare. The other option is a mavoi that has 3 walls, which basically means it only opens to the courtyard, not to the public thoroughfare. So again, the Mishnah had said, what are we talking about taking all this stuff out? We're talking about taking it to a mavoi she'eino mefulash, which sounded like it's only open on one side, and it's not open to Reshut HaRabim. Ben Betera said, af lemefulash, even to one that's open to the Reshut HaRabim is allowed. Okay, now we're going to have a debate, though. Really, what is mavoi mefulash and eino mefulash? And it's not as simple as I said it was. So now the Gemara says, Hechidami mefulash, hechidami she'eino mefulash. How do we define this? Amar Rav Chisda, shalosh mechitzot v'shnei lechayayim, zeu mavoi she'eino mefulash. Okay, before we even go on, let me explain to you what a lechi is, what a korah is, and this is all a good introduction to Eruvin. We've talked about it before, but we'll talk about it again. In order to allow carrying within this space is not public. Therefore, theoretically, you could take from your house to your chatzir, to your courtyard, to the mavoi without a problem. But the rabbis said, since this mavoy has a lot of people going around in it, therefore, we're going to treat it like Rashid Rabim. We're worried if we allow you to carry here, you might carry to the public domain. So therefore, they forbade carrying in there unless you fix it. How do you fix it? You put up either a beam standing up or a beam going across the top. Okay, so either a beam standing up alongside one of the walls by the entrance, or a beam going the other, right, going vertically at the top of the wall at a higher point in the wall. There's a height limitation on how high it could be because you want to make sure people can see it. These are what we call either they work as a heker, as a sign that it's as if we're saying, oh, we remember that it's Shabbat and we remember that really we can't, right? Really, we shouldn't be carrying here, but because we made a siman, it's reminding us. Or those things actually work as virtual mechitzot, okay? As if we can view it as if it goes across the whole way or as if it comes down, okay? And that's another way of understanding. But we're going to see today there's a machloket about how to actually make an eruv. How many lechis you need, how many korot you need, how does it work? So Rav Chisda says, what the case here is 3 mechitzot and 2 lechayim. That means there's one open space, there's one open side only, and you put a lechi on either side of it. V'zeu mavoy she'eno mefulash. That's a mavoy that's not open. Shalosh mechitzot v'lechi echad. Now, zeu mavoy ha-mefulash. Mefulash is not what I said, that it's open to the public. It's that it's still got 3 walls, but you only put up 1 lechi. Utravayu aliba de Rabbi Eliezer. And both of them hold like Rabbi Eliezer, who's an individual opinion, not what we call a dat yachid, not an opinion that everybody agrees with, but they both, our Mishnah, according to this reading, they both hold like him, which would be a little bit strange, why they would both hold like a minority opinion, but especially when you're going to see they argue with Beit Hillel, but that's what they say. Ditnam. What's Rabbi Eliezer's opinion? It says in the following Mishnah, Hechsher mavoy. How do you fix a mavoy? By the way, you have to do 2 things. You have to either put up this lechi or koreh, or maybe both, or we'll see what it is, or, and in addition, you need to put food in the mavoy, that common food that everybody eats. There's a debate about whether our Mishnah is referring to a mavoy where there was food, or maybe a mavoy that there wasn't food, but since it's a mavoy that you could theoretically put food and make what we call shitufei mavaot, what we call eruv, they call shitufei mavaot. In other words, there's eruvei chatzerot, which is to allow carrying between courtyards, and shitufei mavaot is an eruv within a mavoy, okay, these alleyways. So Beit Shammai says you need lechi v'korah. You need one going vertically, one going horizontally. Ubeit Hillel omrim o lechi o korah. That's what we hold by, one or the other. Rabbi Eliezer, who is the one who they both hold by, omer shnei lechayim. You need 2 lechis. And now the debate becomes, when we allow, so again, the debate between Tanakama and Ben Betera in our Mishnah is, when we allow carrying the Sefer Torah into a space, are we allowing it only into a space that already has 2 lechis, that's prepared for a mavoy, to be a mavoy that you can carry in? Or Ben Betera says, even if it only has 1 lechi, even though I hold by Rabbi Eliezer that you really need 2, in this case, for the purpose of saving the Sefer Torah, we're going to allow it. That's the machloka between them, according to Rav Chisda. Amar le Rabba, gimel mechitza b'lechi acha mefulash karitle. To call something mefulash means it's open. It means it's more lenient. You're going to call 3 mechitzot and a lechi mefulash? That's crazy. Of course, it's not considered mefulash. Ve'od, and additionally, le Rabbanan, according to the rabbis who says it has only if it has 2 lechis, natzil l'tocho ochlinu mashkin. We should allow more than just the Sefer Torah. We should allow any food you want. Once it's a mavoy, well, we should allow you to carry whatever you want into that mavoy, because if it's a mavoy with 2 lechis, you've already fixed the mavoy. Of course, we should allow you to save more items. So therefore, he doesn't like his interpretation. Elama Rabba says like this: Shtei mechitzot v'shnei lechayim zeu mavoy she'eno mefulash. He says 2 mechitzot and 2 lechis. 2 mechitzot, meaning there's 2 walls, there's 2 open sides. On each open side, there's 1 lechi. That's what we call eno mefulash. Shtei mechitzot v'lechi echad zeu mavoy mefulash. If it's open on both sides and it has a lechi on either, and it has only 1 lechi on one opening, the other side doesn't have a lechi, that's mavoy mefulash. Utravayu aliba de Rabbi Yehuda. And both of them argue within Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. What's Rabbi Yehuda? Detanya. Yeter al ken amal, Rabbi Yehuda, mishayalosh. Okay, yeter al ken, it's connecting with something before. They were talking about if you're in the public domain, and you have something, you have a covered space in between, let's say two, I think it's in between two Rishut Yachids, and there's this covered space. It's called Pi Tikra Yored V'Sotem. We view the ceiling as if it comes down, as if there's mechitzot there. Okay, again, we have these concepts of virtual or imaginary walls. We view the ceiling as if it comes down. But then he says, but not only if there's a ceiling, but even if there is no ceiling, you have two houses, okay? My house and your house, we're in the public thoroughfare, and there's no ceiling above in the in-between space. But if you have shnei batim, I think it's someone, if it's your own house, you own two houses, b'shnei tzidei reshut harabim, and you want to carry between the two houses, oseh lechi mikan v'lechi mikan, or korah mikan v'korah mikan, v'noseh v'notem be'emtza. I can put up a lechi on one side and a lechi on the other side, and allow carrying from both to the other, or a korah or a beam going horizontally on either side, and that allows me to carry. So now, then the rabbi said to him, Amrulo, Ein ma'arvim reshut harabim bekach. You can't make an eruv in reshut harabim like this. It doesn't work. But basically, what does Rabbi say? Rabbi says it's two mechitzot and two lechayayim, right? If you have a lechi on either side, that's like this case in the reshut harabim. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it was fine. Therefore, if you have one on either side, it doesn't matter that it's open to reshut harabim. It still works, okay? And according to Ben Betera, he's going to say, even if there's only one lechi on one side, that's still going to allow you, again, he's always going to be more lenient, and he's always going to say, well, since this is a unique situation, we're going to even allow it in this case because we want you to save your Sifrei Kodesh. Amar le Abaye, but Abaye says, no, I don't like what you're saying because l'didach nami l'Rabbanan natzil l'tochoch linu mashkin. Again, according to the rabbis, this is a perfect mavoi. It has a lechi on either side. According to Rabbi Yehuda, that's fine. And if you're talking that they're both holding like Rabbi Yehuda, then we shouldn't only allow Sifrei Kodesh, we should allow even food and drink. Now, what we mean by food and drink, and this is an intro to the next Mishnah, we mean food and drink without any limitations, because we're going to learn that you can say food and drink, but within certain limitations. And what they're trying to say is, this is a space you can carry, no problem, so we should allow it. Therefore, Elam Ravashi, Shalosh mechitzot v'lechi echad. He's back to the three mechitzot. They're both cases of three mechitzot. The question is not two lechayim versus one lechi. It's going to be one lechi versus no lechi. So shalosh mechitzot v'lechi echad zeu mavoi she'eno mefulash. This is a mavoi that's not open, meaning because it has one lechi, and then they're not holding. Now we're going to see. Maybe they are holding like Rabbi Eliezer, so just wait. Shalosh mechitzot below lechi. If it has no lechi at all, zeu mavoi hamefulash. That's the one that's considered open because it has no lechi at all, and that's the one even Ben Betera says it's okay. And now they're going to jump and say even l'Rabbi Eliezer, afilu l'Rabbi Eliezer da'amar b'inan lechayayim. He says for a regular mavoi to fix it, you need to have two lechis. Hanemile le'ochlenu le'mashkin aval l'sefer Torah b'chad lechi sage. They're still going according to Rabbi Eliezer. And their whole chiddush, and this answers the whole problem. Well, if it's an okay mavoi, then we should allow even food and drink. We say, it's according to Rabbi Eliezer, who doesn't think this is a good mavoi. But he says it's enough of a mavoi for the rabbis, once it has one lechi, to save a Sefer Torah from a fire. And according to Ben Betera, even if it doesn't have any lechis, since it's got three walls and it's only open on one side, therefore we're going to allow you to carry the Sefer Torah in. Okay? But if it had two lechis, then even we allow anything. This, by the way, doesn't relate to the fact, it's a little bit confusing, because the issue carrying? Is that the whole thing, that we're going to allow you to carry somewhere where normally you can't carry? We're going to allow it because it's important to save the Sefer Kodesh. On the other hand, we also said we limited you to save things because we don't want you to end up putting out the fire, in which case there's a separate reason why we wouldn't allow food and drink. And I'm not really sure why they don't answer that here. We don't want to allow you food and drink because remember, if we allow you to deal with the fire and start taking out everything you want, you might get distracted and forget that it's Shabbat and put out your fire, or you might not care that it's Shabbat and you put out the fire because you're going to say, right, this is so important to me, all my stuff, and you're going to get so upset about the fire, you're going to put it out. So it doesn't really relate to that aspect, which is a bit of a tricky it's a tricky aspect of the sugya that doesn't make perfect sense. The Mishnah starts out now, the new Mishnah. We're now up to what else can you save from a fire? Mitzilim mazon shalosh seudot. You can save 3 meals worth. Okay, from here we're going to get to the whole chiyuv of eating 3 meals on Shabbat. We're going to start at the end of today's daf, and we'll continue through tomorrow about the whole chiyuv of eating 3 meals on Shabbat. So you have to remember, in those days, they generally ate 2 meals a day. And on Shabbat, it was a unique day that they ate 3 meals. Or we'll see today that there was even an opinion that says you eat 4 meals. So since the fire is happening on Shabbat, and since you're supposed to eat 3 meals on Shabbat, we allow you to save food for 3 meals worth. If you need for people, for humans, then the amount that a human would eat. Obviously, this big range of different people might eat different things. If it's for your animal, the amount that your animal needs. Ketzad, how does this work exactly? Naflad lekabelele Shabbat mitzilim mazon 3 seudot. B'shacharit mitzilim mazon 2 seudot. B'mincha mazon seuda achat. So what do they say? Well, it depends where you are in Shabbat when the fire happens. If it happens at night and you still need to eat your 3 meals, the assumption, although we're going to question this later, is this Leilei Shabbat before you ate. Okay, let's just assume right now. They mean before you ate your meal Friday night. So then you still need Friday night, Shabbos morning, Shabbos afternoon. So then you can save 3. If it's in the morning, b'shacharit, by the way, they use the tefillot here, if you notice, shacharit and mincha. They don't say arvit, but then they switch to shacharit and mincha. Some people think this is specific, relating that first you're supposed to daven shacharit, then you eat. Then you daven mincha, then you eat. Some people are careful to always eat sudash l'shit after mincha. There's all sorts of reasons for that. There's some people who don't allow you to eat sudash l'shit after mincha for various reasons. There's whole interesting things about that, but we're not going to get into it right now. So mitzilim mazon 3 seudot. So if you're in shacharit, then we only allow you 2 because you only have 2 meals left. Mincha, we only allow you 1. This is again because we're not allowing you to be bothering about things that are going to happen after Shabbat. We don't let you worry about what's going to be after Shabbat, even though obviously you're going to need to eat after Shabbat. And if your house burnt down and all your stuff, you're not going to have food for the next day. It's a bit of a problem. Rabbi Yossi Omer la'olam mitzilim mazon 3 seudot. He says, what do you mean? He says that the amount that they gave was 3 meals. It doesn't matter at what point in Shabbat you are. That's the amount. You can save 3 meals. It doesn't matter. Shabbat's about to end. There's fire going on in your house. You can take 3 meals out. It doesn't matter. So the Gemara starts off and asks the following question. What you don't know is that on Daf Kuf Chaf, okay, I think is it the next Mishnah? It's probably the next Mishnah. Lists some other things that you can save. It lists some details about this food. And then it says, where are you carrying these foods to? L'chatzar ha'me'urevet. We're only allowing this into a chatzer that's me'urevet, that has an eruv. Okay? You can't bring this into the mavoi that we just discussed. It can only be into a chatzer that has an eruv. So now they say, michti behetera katarich, natzil tfei. If already you're allowed to carry this. Number 1, it's not muktzah. Food is never muktzah. Okay, even if I wasn't necessarily planning to eat it on Shabbat, still food isn't muktzah. Secondly, I'm only allowed to bring it into a place with an eruv, a place that's allowed to carry. So we're talking about everything about this is allowed. So why are we limiting me to only 3 meals? Amar Rava mitoch she'adam bahul al mamono, and here we finally see it inside. Since people get very worked up about their possessions, if we allow it, they might come to put out the fire. So we don't want to allow you to deal with the fire, but deal with taking things out of the fire because we're worried that, again, you might forget it's Shabbat, you might forget it's forbidden to put out your fire, and you might put out your fire, and therefore we don't allow it. Therefore we limit you. This is exactly what I said when we started the parak, and it came from here, that the reason to limit you is so that you pay attention and you remember, oh, it's Shabbat, I can only do it in a particular way, and you won't forget and put out your fire. Amalei Abaye. Abaye now questions and says, Elahadatanya, but there's a brayta that says, Nishbera lo chavit berosh gago. Let's say your barrel of wine breaks at the top of your roof. Now, what are you going to want to do, obviously? Save the wine. Seems like it's not something that's forbidden to do, really. So, maybe kli umeniach tachteh, fine, bring a kli and put it underneath. Ubilvad, but what can't you do? Shelo yavi kli acher v'yiklot. Kli acher v'yitzareh. You can't, now what would happen? Imagine you have a barrel. The barrel's huge. A kli is usually small. You're not going to be able to save all that wine, so what do you want to do? You want to bring another one, liklo, to catch it in midair, move it from, or, it's somewhere, to catch it on its way down, then move it into the other kli. In other words, you want an intermediary kli so that you can save more, right? You're going to save it, move it into other kelim. So you're not allowed to do that, and you can't also, litzaref, put a kli right up against the wall there, let's say, or somewhere to catch it, and then move it into another utensil so that you can save more. So now, Hatam ma'gzera. Now, there, it's not like you're worried you're going to put out the fire because we're letting you save more. So why don't we let you save more? It's the same idea. We're letting you save something that's going to be a loss for you, but we're not allowing it across the board. We're not allowing you to keep bringing more and more kelim. So why? It's not like we're worried you're going to put out the fire. And if that's your whole reason why we're not allowing you to save all the food in the house, then it wouldn't make sense with this other source. So hachinami, no, also there's a gzera. Why? Gzera shema yavi kli derech reshut harabim. We're worried that if you have this huge barrel, you're going to need a lot of utensils to save all that wine. Where are you going to get utensils from? You probably don't own that many utensils. You'll have to go into the public thoroughfare, go to your neighbor, get kelim, and then you're going to bring it from reshut harabim. So it's the same idea. We're worried that you're going to do something that's forbidden d'oraita, and that's why we limit you. Okay, because we brought up the source, we're now going to go more in depth into the source. Gufa. Nishbera lo chavit berosh kago, mevi kli umeneach tachteu bavad shelo yavi kli acher v'yiklot kli acher v'yitzaref. Okay, that's the same thing we just read. Now we're going to learn the second part of this. Very interesting. Nizdamen lo orchim. If all of a sudden after your barrel breaks, some guests show up and they want wine, then maybe kli acher v'kolet kli acher u'mitzaref. Okay. You can then, I need it for my guests. We allow you to then bring another utensil to save the wine because you're not just saving the wine, but you're saving it for use right now. But now they tell us, below yiklot v'achar kach yazmin, but don't go put your kli there, collect more wine, and then go invite some guests and say, oh, by the way, I have all this wine. You can't do it like that. But what can you do? This is what we call a little bit of, loophole in halacha. Yasmin v'achar kach yiklot. You see your barrel breaking. What do you go do? You run to your neighbors and you say, hey, you want to come over for wine? We got a lot of wine going on. Come on over. You invite them over. And then you're allowed to bring again, you can't bring them from the public domain, but we allow you within, find in your house more kelim, take them out, and you can catch the wine. Ve'ein marimim, but you can't, ein marimim bekach. You can't use trickery here. Okay, what is trickery? Already that's trickery. You would call that harama, right? All of a sudden, oh, magically, I want to go invite guests right now. But what can't you do? So Rashi explains, you can invite guests she'ein tzrichin le'echol v'yotiru. In other words, don't invite guests. Rashi should say, and a bunch of the Mepharshim say, yishteh. In other words, don't invite guests that aren't interested in drinking wine, right? Your neighbor doesn't ever drink wine, or he just finished his meal and isn't going to drink more wine. You can't do that. You have to invite people who theoretically would drink. Okay? Mishum Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Omer Amru Marimim. In the name of Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, it was said, you can even do that. You can invite people who aren't interested in drinking, and you can say, oh, come on over. You can catch the wine, and then say, oh, you didn't want to drink? Oh, well, I have wine for you anyway. Okay? So there's a machloket about that. Now they want to suggest, again, we're on a total tangent here. We got here because we brought this case to compare to why do we allow you, right? We don't allow you to save more food, just like we don't allow you to save more wine. But this doesn't seem to be because we're worried you're going to put out the fire. So, oh no, there is a concern there that you might carry. From there, we want to just learn the sugya. So now they say, Lema beplugta de Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yeshua kamiflage. Maybe they argue about the same thing that Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua are arguing about in a different case. Ditanya, otova epino. You're not allowed to kill an animal and it's the animal's son in one day. Okay, which is generally it's usually assumed to be a female animal. There's a whole debate about this, but female animal and her son. Also, I think there's a question, what about her daughter? Anyway, without getting into details, whole chapter on Otova Epino and Chulin, we'll get to it. So Otova Epino, now they're going to say, Shanaflu lebor. You have them both, they fell into a bore. So you can't slaughter them in one day. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, so what do? They both fell into a bore. Now I forgot to tell you, it's Yantif. Okay, it's Yantif. Now in Yantif, you can slaughter animals, but you can't slaughter both those animals because you can't slaughter an animal and its son in one day. So according to Rabbi Eliezer, so you take the first one out of the boar, so you can slaughter it. The second one, you're not allowed to. So what do? You give it food so that it'll survive till tomorrow when you can actually take it out. Rabbi Yoshua Omer, you take out the first one with intent to slaughter it. But then you don't slaughter it. And now you say, well, you know what? Ma'arim, so now you do a little trickery, subterfuge. U'ma'alet hashini. And then you bring up the second one. You say, oh, maybe I don't want to slaughter the first one. Maybe I want to slaughter the second one. At that point, when you kind of say, I don't want to slaughter the first one, you're allowed now to bring up the second one. At that point, once you have them both up, now you can slaughter whichever one you want. It really doesn't matter. You use the subterfuge and you allowed yourself to basically do this. So, mimai. From where do we, so now they say, so the whole idea is, what do you see? Rabbi Yeshua says you can use harama. Rabbi Eliezer says you can't. Maybe it's the same machloket there. So now the Gemara says, no, these are two different things. Mimai. There's a way out. What's the way out? Bring food to the animal that's stuck in the pit and leave him there till tomorrow. There's a solution. And we don't have to have a loss. Right? The whole issue is, do we allow ha'arama when it's going to cause you a financial loss? There's no loss. You'll bring him some food and tomorrow you'll slaughter it. You'll take him out of the pit and slaughter it. Aval hacha dilo efshar lo. But in our case, there's no way to save that barrel of wine. At this point, the wine's going to totally go to waste if you don't bring more kelim. So therefore, maybe he would allow subterfuge in our case, even though he didn't allow it there. And likewise, we're going to say maybe Rabbi Yeshua, who allowed subterfuge in the case of Otov et Beno, isn't going to allow it here. Why? To leave an animal in a pit is torture for the animal. And because of that, maybe that's why, I see Caroline, you asked that question, very good, right? How can we possibly leave the animal in the pit, torturing the animal? But here it's wine. The wine has no feelings, doesn't matter. Therefore, we'll let the wine go to waste. So therefore, we would say in this case, low, so you can't necessarily say the situations are comparable. And now we're back to our topic of what you can save from a house. Now here's another, maybe a little bit like subterfuge. Tano Rabbanan, Hitzil pat nikia. If you take out really nice bread, your best bread, that's what you took out of the house. Ein matzil pat hadra. You can't go back now and take the bread that's left with all the bran in it. That's the less good, the less quality bread. But if you took out pat hadra'ah, you took out the bad bread first, matzil pat nikia. Then you can take out the better quality bread. Because you could say, oh, just like with the animal, oh, I don't want to slaughter this one, I want to slaughter that one. Oh, but I don't really want to eat this bread on Shabbat. I forgot I have better bread. You can go and save that from the fire. Umitzilim miyom kippurim l'Shabbat. If it's Yom Kippur, you can save enough meals for Shabbat. Avalom Shabbat liyom kippurim. This is fascinating. The fire happens on Shabbat. The next day is Yom Kippur. You're not allowed to save food to have after Yom Kippur. Okay, you would think that they would allow it, right? Obviously, they don't mean for Yom Kippur to eat on Yom Kippur, unless maybe you would say for your children. But I assume they mean after Yom Kippur, and we don't allow you to do that, even though who knows where you're going to get food for Yom Kippur, right? It's not like you could work in the meantime and, And this is all based on what we saw before about the Kedusha of Shabbat being stronger than the Kedusha of Yom Kippur. And that you can't do any preparation on Shabbat for Yom Kippur. Not from Shabbat to Yom Tov, and not even this Shabbat for next Shabbat. Let's say you have something very special that you know you won't be able to get throughout the week. You have some honey or something that was known to be special. You can't save it, say, I want this for next Shabbat. That's not allowed either. Tanu Rabbanan. Shachach pat b'tanur v'kidesh alav hayom mitzili mazon shalosh seudot. Here's another thing about mitzili mazon shalosh seudot, but it's not from a fire. Here, you left your food in the oven. Now, there's an issue. We learned this before a long time ago about ridiat hapat. It was considered a unique skill to take the bread off the sides of the oven. They would bake the bread on the sides of the oven, and you would need a special implement to take it off the sides of the oven. If you put your bread in the oven before Shabbat, that's obviously allowed, but you forgot to take it out before Shabbat, are you allowed to take it out of your oven on Shabbat? So it says what we allow you to do. We allow you to take out just the bread that you need for Shabbat, the 3 meals worth. And then you can tell your friends, Bo vatzilu lachem, come in and take bread for yourselves. But you can't use the unique implement that was used for taking it off. You have to use a knife to basically, kind of separate it from the wall. So the Gemara says, Ini, do we really allow this? It's a chokhmah, it's not a melacha, just like tikiyat shofar also. So therefore, we should allow it. So they say, you should still do it with some sort of shinoi. It's still better to do it some other way. You should wake up early Friday morning and start already getting ready for Shabbat, because it said on Friday morning, what did they do? They went out to get the man, and now we're going to learn all sorts of halachot about meals on Shabbat from the man in the desert. Amar Rabbi Abba, B'Shabbat chayav livtzo al shtei kikarot. You need 2 loaves. This is why we use 2 loaves. Dichtiv lechem mishnah. There it said, take 2 portions on Friday. We learned from that on Shabbat, to remember the mom, we put 2 loaves on the table. Amrav Ashi, Chazini Leila Rav Kahana, Dinaka Tarte Ubatzachada. I saw Rav Kahana, he would take 2, but he would only break the bread on one of them. That's what we normally do. Amar Liktuktiv, it says, gather lechem mishnah, but it doesn't say eat both of them. Rabbi Zera Havabatza Akule Shiruta. He would cut whatever he would want for the whole meal at once. Amar Le Ravina Le Ravashi, Vahamitchaze Kirav Tanuta. This looks like gluttonous, that he's taking this huge chunk from the beginning. Since he doesn't behave like this every day, we saw this a few times already. If you do this on a one-off, right, once a week, then we know that you're not generally gluttonous. It's okay. Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Asi, we'll finish with them. Ki mikla lehu rifta de eruva, shari ilave, ha'amrei ho'il veit avi bechad mitzvah li'avid be mitzvah achrina. Since the mitzvah to make an eruv, they say the bread that they use for the eruv, if they came upon that bread on Shabbat, they would use that for their lechem mishnah, because they said it's more special to use something that was already designated for a mitzvah, and therefore they use that. Okay, we'll start tomorrow with this big machloket. I said we get to, but I said we're not going to get there today, which is how many meals do you have to eat? Is it 3 or is it 4? Which is very interesting, and we'll start with that tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.